You're listening to Fit Pro Sessions with Parallel Coaching, episode number 5. Hi, I'm Neil Bergman, and in today's podcast, myself and Hayley are talking about why A&P is important, so stay tuned. Hi, I'm Neil Bergman.
And I'm Hayley Bergman. Over the last 10 years, we've helped thousands of fitness professionals to get qualified, learn with simplicity, and coach clients with confidence.
We're the first to say that learning and being a Fit Pro doesn't have to be hard work, and that with the right structure, support, and resources, you can become a confident and knowledgeable fitness professional that is dedicated to more.
So how do you learn, qualify, and kickstart as a Fit Pro? This is the Fit Pro Sessions podcast with Parallel Coaching.
It's a tag team effort today. I'm Neil. Here's Hayley.
Hello.
Hello. And on all of our previous episodes where we've tag teamed, we've been in two different places. But today, sitting to the right of me, you can see if you're watching on YouTube, here is the lovely
Hayley Bergman.
There we go. So today's all about revision and understanding anatomy and physiology. So every week, every Thursday, we drop a new episode all about revision to kickstart your studies, get you on your way, and hopefully add a bit more structure and understanding the reasons why it's important to know outside of just the exam. And I think that's the main message for today, Hayley.
Absolutely, yeah. So about understanding anatomy is not just part of your assessment that you have to do as part of your exams, as part of becoming a fitness professional, but also why it's important to refresh that knowledge and hold on to that knowledge so that you can really, truly be that outstanding coach that we're talking about in all of these Fit Pro sessions.
So over the last, I'm going to say more so the last 4 or 5 years since we've had the revision boot camps, we've seen almost 7,000 people come through the boot camps to challenge their revision, to find that final understanding, the missing links to their knowledge. And one thing I've seen as a trend is it's all about passing the exam, which I get it. It's important. It is super important. You've got to get 70% or above. But the focus becomes on how do I get 70% or above? How do I get the 28 out of 40? And then I'm done. I've passed. I've got my qualification. And now I can just move on and jump into the funky, sexy stuff, working with a client, dishing out exercises, burpees here, bench presses over there. But I'm going to say it. We drop that full understanding of how anatomy and physiology assist in getting the client the goal.
Yeah, and I totally understand that viewpoint because it can feel so scary and so negative that you're winding up to this exam, and yet the other side of the nice green grass on the other side is being able to have that fun time with your clients and actually go and start your career. And it feels like this horrible kind of obstacle that you've just got to get over. And therefore, people don't generally end up enjoying learning about the anatomy or the body.
Yeah.
And then don't necessarily want to hold on to that because it just reminds them of cramming for the exam.
And the likelihood is, we've mentioned it on a number of podcasts, certainly in this first week, that a lot of people get into fitness because they've had their own body transformation. Maybe you're listening, you've dropped a lot of weight, or you've changed your physique, or you've gained more confidence, or you've changed your state of mind, mental health, and tackled depression, anxiety, and stress and whatnot. Exercise means something different for everybody. And because of that, you've had your own transformation, and you feel that you can go on and assist other people that must have or have similar problems to what you had, and you can help them. And at that point, I don't think there was I certainly didn't have a consideration that I'd have to learn anatomy and physiology.
Yeah,
I'll be really honest. I
think I thought it was just going to be lots of exercises, that I'm just going to learn all the different exercises and someone will tell me the order to do them in for different goals or something.
And suddenly, the manual drops on my doorstep as this big thud, and we send manuals out every week, and learners phone up and feel a little bit overwhelmed of like, oh my God, really? I didn't consider this to be the case.
Yeah, and it can feel a bit overwhelming, especially then at the thought of you're going to get assessed on that as an exam, and then, like I said, it becomes this blot that you kind of just want to ignore and not feel like you have to learn that fully and take it on board. So sometimes I think the importance of it is missed.
So I want to kickstart and understand this episode is all about why is A&P, why is anatomy and physiology important, not just for the exam, but past that as well.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the episode, I've got a revision power hour. So I've got 5 minutes where I'm going to guide your revision and fully supercharge your efforts, time, energy, and focus inside the revision. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Here we go.
What I love about that revision power hour that you're doing at the end is that it's not just if you're preparing for an exam, but if you need to stay focused in your studies regardless, even if it's not for your A&P exam, you can use the same format the whole way through. So you can, even if you're not doing your exam, still stick around for that power hour, because it will be really beneficial for focus.
Yeah, maybe you're doing your course LAP, course worksheets. Maybe you're doing your planning documents. Maybe your practical assessment. But it's 60 minutes or 30 minutes is half a power hour. 60 minutes is a full power hour where you can fully get into the nitty gritty and have focus. And I'm going to introduce you to a time technique to hack your mind so you stay focused.
Ooh, I like it. I need
so
it.
I want to know, Hayley, we can't just jump straight into why is A&P important, anatomy and physiology, without understanding what anatomy and physiology is.
Yeah,
and
good point.
Based on Hayley is the main presenter for all of our boot camps, her understanding of anatomy and physiology is phenomenal. So I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thanks. So anatomy and physiology sounds just like some long, complicated words that over time we just end up linking to meaning something about the body. But when you break it down in real simple terms, anatomy is the study of the structure and relationship with body parts. So structure-wise, it could be to learn about the long bone of the femur and the fact that you've got tibia and fibula as well, but the relationship between those two parts being the knee joint. So that's the anatomy side. But physiology is then the study of the function. Like, what does that allow us to do? The fact that we've got these bones and that joint, what does that allow us to do in terms of the body moving through space, in terms of being able to move? So yeah, anatomy is more about the structure and relationship, and physiology is more about the function of body parts as a whole, and how the body comes together as a whole.
So another example, Hayley just used femur, or the long bone in the upper leg, the knee joint, and then the two bones in the lower leg. You could say, well, take the humerus, for example, in the arm. That would be the anatomy, the long bone. And then you've got the ulnar and radius, and together they create the elbow joint, which is a hinge joint. So now we're talking about the anatomy and the relationship of those bones, and now the physiology is for function. So what can the hinge joint do? What plane of movement can it move through? An axis of movement
100%
on that. So we're skipping between some level 2 and level 3 knowledge here. That's okay. We're gonna dial in each one of these processes very shortly, or systems within the body. But just know that the anatomy is the structure and relationship of the body parts, whereas the physiology is the study and function of those body parts as a whole.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah,
so we've used the skeletal system there. Let's look at the muscular system very quickly. Give me a quick example. What is the anatomy and physiology of, say, the muscular system?
So like the structure of a muscle would include understanding that sliding filament theory, where you've got your endomysium and your muscle fibers and your fascicle and your perimysium. So all these different layers within the muscle itself.
And
that's
the physiology,
your structure. But the physiology is then how that allows you to have a concentric and an eccentric contraction. So a shortening contraction and a lengthening contraction.
So that
give context?
Oh, wicked. I love it. So that's what anatomy and physiology is. Okay. And maybe in the power hour, you could go through the anatomy and physiology of all of the subsystems of the body. So the anatomy of the heart, and therefore the function of the heart, the anatomy of the say the respiratory system and the function of the respiratory system. We've given you the muscles and the skeletal ones for free here. You could go through the anatomy of the nervous system, and therefore the function of the nervous system. The moment you understand just the anatomy of the system and the function of the system, suddenly I guarantee you'll have like a penny drop light bulb moment, and a lot more things will make sense, because you're talking about the relationship and the function of them.
Absolutely.
So the why is it important? And I came up with a wicked analogy. Do you want to know what it is?
Would you like to do this?
Do you know what I told Hayley a minute ago what it is? So why is anatomy and physiology important? And I said to Hayley earlier, as we're planning this episode, it's kind of like being a car and a car mechanic. So imagine a car mechanic having no understanding or knowledge of the parts or workings of the car. I got a question for Hayley and a question for you. If you knew your mechanic had no understanding or no knowledge of the parts or the workings of a car, would you let him or her work on your car?
I wouldn't let them have a banger, let alone my prized possession of car. No way. No way.
No way. It's a guaranteed no, isn't it? You're not going to let them have a go.
No.
Okay, you're not going to let them anywhere near them because you know you're not going to be safe to drive, and you know it's not going to be effective because you know you're just going to be pouring money down the drain, and you're going to have to go to another mechanic
And also,
later on.
You might as well do it yourself if you have the same amount of knowledge.
So this is the thing. So in order to adequately care and guide and be the coach that you want to be and guide someone towards a specific goal, you must understand the human body, just like the car mechanic must understand the parts and workings of a car.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay. I love that analogy, just being able to relate it to that.
So final point would be, it's like having an owner's manual for the body.
So learning anatomy and physiology for your own body is like having one of those Haynes owner manuals.
I was trying to remember the name. It was Haynes.
It is Haynes, isn't it?
It is Haynes. It is Haynes. I was like, AA, RAC book? I didn't know.
The Haynes ownership manual. So you've got that clear understanding. And I suppose if you open up an anatomy and physiology book, like a good one that shows all the different systems in the body, it is kind of a bit like a manual for the body and understanding what's in it. And I think when you relate that information to then what you learn in the rest of your fitness knowledge, then it becomes something really useful.
So staying with the car and the mechanic, you know, I'm not a mechanic. I know nothing about cars, but I do know that the steering wheel has an impact on the wheels.
Yes.
And the wheels have an impact on my safety.
Nice.
I do understand that I can't move without the accelerator and clutch and gear box. This is about as good as my understanding.
I understand
of the
car. You can't have a flat tire.
Yeah,
exactly.
So I must understand the parts of a car and now the workings of them and how the relationship between the steering wheel and the front wheels or the driving wheels actually come together to get you from A to B. I love this analogy because we're really talking about how these parts and systems interact with each other. So when we look at the body has a number of, well, it's all anatomy and physiology, but a number of roles and functions that affect all of the other body systems. So I know I'm waffling now, but the main thing I want to highlight is, you know, like the car, the steering wheel affects the wheels. Okay. Yes. So my heart affects how I feel in the legs when I'm running.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
Example.
Yes.
Okay. So all of these.
Each system has a knock-on effect on the other.
Yes, completely. Nice. Anything you can add on to that one? Because you're like the A&P queen here.
Just sure. Thanks. So with each system reflecting the other system, I think that's probably the main part of the physiology part of anatomy and physiology that you need to be aware as a fit pro and using that information with your clients. So if you see your client moving in a certain way, they come to you for your first consultation with them, you're looking for clues to find out how they've been treating their body. Or in Neil's metaphor of the car mechanic, you're that mechanic sat there doing a diagnostic of that car, finding out what's going on. And as you do that diagnostic, you're looking for the relationship between things. You're looking for clues to think, they've been ragging this car really badly, or they've been running it with no fuel, or they put the wrong fuel in the tank, or they've been running with a different, like out of alignment. And you can then see these just by being really understanding of the body. And you can actually see this in a really good PT that's probably a bit harsh, but if you see somebody who is a great PT, somebody that would charge maybe a lot more than other PTs as well, you would expect to receive a certain amount of knowledge from them, or that a certain amount of knowledge went into that. Same with the car mechanic. I know you know somebody that is that charges a lot as a car mechanic in terms of the type of car that he works on. Is a very specialist type of car, and as a result he finely tunes all the smallest little parts and make sure that they all relate to each other perfectly so that you get the result you need in that car.
The bit I take from all of that really is that when you take the car to the mechanic, the first 30 minutes or first hour or first couple of hours, potentially even the first day, depending on what's wrong with it, the car mechanic is kind of figuring out what the hell is wrong with this car.
Yeah, nice.
It's kind of like he's been given a half completed Sudoku puzzle, and he's got to reverse engineer all of the problems in the puzzle in order to move on.
Nice.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the car mechanic has to really diagnose and find out, well, this has happened and that caused that to happen and that caused this to happen, and therefore that's why we're in this particular place right now. The situation is X, these are the facts, this is the environment we're in, and because we're here we can now move forwards. And I think that's what makes an outstanding fitness professional, personal trainer, yoga, Pilates teacher, whatever, is when a client walks in, you're thinking, okay, let's not just jump straight into fitness because that's what they're expecting. The client's expecting that just to get going on exercise. The reality is I've got to figure out what are all of the body's systems, anatomy, parts of the body, and the function of physiology. What's happened in the last, let's say, 30 days, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, year, 5 years. What's happened in the last 10 years to bring this person to me today and say, this is the state of the anatomy and physiology, and reverse engineer it and say, you know, your inactive sedentary lifestyle has caused your heart and lungs to be here, your respiratory system to be here, your skeletal system and function to be here, your joint and joint actions to be here, X, Y, and Z. And I'm going to do a variety of consultations and body MOTs to fully understand what is the state of the client's anatomy and physiology in order to move forwards. Because without knowing that, you ready? Without knowing that, you don't know where you are. Therefore, you cannot start. Let's stay with the car analogy. Yeah. It would be like me driving. We live down in Plymouth and our main academy is in Milton Keynes. It would be like me trying to get to Milton Keynes, but not knowing where I start.
Yes.
So I have to find a start point in the client's anatomy and physiology in order to get to their goal. Now, the client's always going to turn up and say, I want to lose weight, or I want to do this park run, or I want to do this ultra run, or I want to do this obstacle course race, or I want to do this powerlifting show, or I want to get on stage, or I've got a wedding to go to, or I want to go on holiday and take my shirt off. They know what they want at surface level at the end, but we don't know, and they don't fully know the facts of where they start.
Nice.
And this is my point, I suppose, I want to really drive home of why it's important, because if you don't know where the anatomy and physiology starts, we cannot move forwards towards the goal.
100%.
Purely because we have to adapt each one of these systems within the body. So the heart and lungs, the respiratory system, the skeletal system, the joints, the muscular system, the nervous system, the energy systems, over a period of time to specifically adapt towards the goal.
Absolutely.
Boom.
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 Mic drop.
So I want to pass Hayley over and talk about where was you going to go?
I was literally just going to summarize that the most important thing that Neil spoke about there is the importance of that diagnostic, that importance of that MOT at the beginning. Imagine yourself as that car mechanic. You've got to find out where they are now so that you can map that to where they want to go. So where is their A? Where is their point B? And then you can start looking at programming. So really, anatomy and physiology is the precursor, the thing that happens before any planning can even happen.
Yes.
So amazing. Thank you.
For a precursor before any planning can happen. So planning being what intervals you're going to give them, what training systems you're going to give them, what sets, reps, tempo, time, range of movement, rest, volume are you going to give them. And the last thing, dare I say, the last thing to actually go into this plan for the client is what exercise are they going to do? Yet I'm going to put it out there. And I was guilty of this. The first thing I thought about as being a PT was what exercise am I going to give them? And I'm going to be the first to say the exercise is almost, dare I say, irrelevant. If I get the understanding of what anatomy and physiology systems do I need to adapt, I can now plan in a much smarter way. And then the last thing to be kind of programmed in is the exercise. So
amazing.
Whoop, whoop. There we go.
What you're talking about there is adaptation.
Adaptation.
So adaptation is why we do training. It's the only reason why our clients are doing a plan. It's the only reason why we may have got results through exercising in anything else that we've done ourselves.
Our body has adapted over a period of time
To a specific demand.
So we've gone from one state to another state. So a client's gone from one state in their body whereby they've maybe been inactive, sedentary, deconditioned, a little bit overweight, a few extra pounds around the belly, find it tough to lift weights for themselves, find it tough to even get out of the chair, a little bit of low back pain. That's one state, all the way through to, say, 12 weeks or 16 weeks later. The new state is
they can get out of the chair.
The complete opposite
exactly.
to all of that. So we've specifically adapted from A to B.
Yes.
That's why we need to know A.
Exactly. You need to know A. And it also links into a principle called the SAID principle. If you haven't heard of this before, then prick your ears up. So specific adaptation to an imposed demand.
Ears are pricked up.
So SAID principle. Now it sounds a little bit wordy, doesn't it? But what it means is that
that's because it is a word.
It is a word. You're correct. There is an imposed demand.
You sounded really sarcastic.
You are correct. So we impose a demand on our body. Let's say that we're going for a run and we get to a certain level of overload. It challenges us. And as a result of challenging us, we've put a demand on our body. We've stressed that body. As a result, our body will specifically adapt our heart, our circulatory system, our respiratory system, our muscles, our network of capillaries around all our muscles. It will make our bones stronger. It will make our joints stronger. Our energy system will change. Our nervous system will change. Everything will change. So every single system in the anatomy of our body will change.
And the function of that will improve for the better.
Exactly. And then as a result, you can now go out for a run and go faster, fitter, or further as a result. So you end up progressing. And that progression is all a result of that specific adaptation to an imposed demand.
And the other side to that is SAID, specific adaptation to an imposed demand, still works for an inactive or deconditioned client. So let's say, for example, a client has been a classic 9 to 5 office job for the last 3 years, and they turn up to you the first time they've ever been in the gym. The specific adaptation to an imposed demand has been inactivity, triple flexed, low heart rates all day, low BMR or lower BMR, maybe poor quality sleep. Those have been the demands on the body for 3 years. And that's why they turn up to you with the facts that they present or the status of their body that day. So I want to kind of add my 2 pence in there. And we talk about SAID being about progression inside planning, but actually SAID is happening all the time. I'm sitting down right now recording this in October 2019, and the demand on my body is very low. And that's having an impact on my heart, circulatory system, respiratory system, skeletal system, joint system, nervous system, muscular system, energy system. And that, if I continue that, that's what I'm going to become.
Amazing.
Okay, so I need to understand, this is why it's important, I need to understand where I've come from to say, right, my status is here right now, where am I moving to? And now I can plan appropriately inside my percentage of maximum heart rates or RPE scale on cardiovascular, percentage of resistance within, say, endurance, hypertrophy, strength and power. I can look at my core programming, I can look at my stretching programming and say, if I implement these into a week plan, what am I going to specifically adapt?
What is the focus?
What is the focus? What is the goal?
How do you want that thing to adapt?
How do I want this thing to adapt? So if my client has a weight loss goal, what cardiovascular intensities and resistance intensities do I need to get to right now in the next 3 to 4 weeks based on where they start in order to see an adaptation? Now, here's the final point before we jump into Revision Power Hour, is not jumping into specific adaptation too heavy or too fast. And what I mean by that is so many clients start in January, and by the 1st of February, they're nowhere to be seen in the gym.
Yeah.
Their adherence, or more so, I believe, their enjoyment to exercise just isn't there.
Yeah, totally.
Because they've pushed beyond that of what their body is capable of too early. And if we enjoy it, we're more likely to do it. And the more we do it and we adhere to it, the more adaptation takes place.
I'm going to add to that frequency and adherence is like 90% of the work. Like if they can keep that going over a long period of time, it'll have a much greater effect. Even if they only do a small amount every time for a long period of time, it's much better cumulative effect than if they do one really massive workout and never go back.
Completely. I think we could keep talking for hours and hours and hours on this, and this is what all of the next revision episodes are all about. So every Thursday we drop one. But with that said, if you do have questions, drop them below on whatever channel you're watching this on, or app, and reach out to us. You can get us on info@parallel-coaching.co.uk. Go over to parallelcoaching.co.uk, and there's so many blogs. We've got over like 500 revision or training blogs there now. Our YouTube channel's got 300 plus videos on that help thousands of people all over the world. The key point is reach out. We're here to help. It doesn't matter whether you're with another training provider or with us.
Or already qualified.
I think that's a wicked point. We want you to reach your full potential. And I genuinely believe if we understand anatomy and physiology at a slightly deeper level, we're not talking about becoming doctors here.
No.
Okay. Then you will be able to pass that on to your client and see outstanding results. So with no further ado, let's go over to Revision Power Hour. Here we go.
So how do you learn, qualify and kickstart as a Fit Pro? This is the Fit Pro Sessions podcast with Parallel Coaching.
So let's start with your plan. Set a timer on your phone for 3 minutes and we're going to answer 4 key questions. Question number 1, what specific topic will you revise in the next 20 minutes? For example, if you're on your level 3 anatomy and physiology, you might choose module 1, the heart and circulatory system. Next, question 2, what are the 3 to 5 buzzing questions you have about this topic? Grab a notepad and pen and write down your 3 to 5 questions now. Moving on to question 3, what mode of learning will you use? Is this going to be your manual? Are you going to use YouTube or the Revision Mastery Bootcamp? Are you going to jump inside the cheat sheets, or are you going to go back to previous notes? Question 4, how will you test yourself in 20 minutes time to ensure you've learned what you set out to? Is this going to be a series of mock questions? Are you going to write down 3 to 5 key points? Just know that it's key to test your knowledge on a regular basis. Next, you're going to set a timer for doing the revision for 20 minutes. So set a timer on your phone for 20 minutes and set towards answering the 4 questions from your planning. Once your 20 minutes is up, you've now got 7 minutes to review and have a break. And we're going to answer 3 questions here. Number 1 is write down 3 to 5 key notes that you've learned. Try not to overthink this. Literally write down in short bullet note form to avoid pages and pages of notes. What are the 3 to 5 key notes that you've learned from your 4 questions you set out to? Next, you're going to test your knowledge in 2 minutes and check your understanding. This could be 1 or 2 mock questions. It could literally be a review of your notes and pick out key points to test whether or not you've learned it, yes or no. Again, try not to overthink this. Finally, you're going to set a timer on your phone for 5 minutes. Now you can head over, grab a cup of tea, cup of coffee, a bite to eat, use the bathroom, or head over to Facebook and veg out for a few minutes, whatever you want to do to relax your brain before you return back and complete another 30 minutes for today's Power Hour. Hi, I'm Neil Bergman.
And I'm Hayley Bergman. Over the last 10 years, we've helped thousands of fitness professionals to get qualified, learn with simplicity, and coach clients with confidence.
We're the first to say that learning and being a Fit Pro doesn't have to be hard work, and that with the right structure, support, and resources, you can become a confident and knowledgeable fitness professional that is dedicated to more.
So how do you learn, qualify, and kickstart as a Fit Pro? This is the Fit Pro Sessions podcast with Parallel Coaching.